Hello princesses! Today I'm going to be talking about the Etude House Tint My 4-Tip Brow. I put these up in two colours because I wasn't sure which one would be better. I got number 4, which is grey brown, and I also got number 2, which is dark brown. I am wearing grey brown on my brows today, and it is definitely the better colour for me because the dark brown is kind of a little bit orange. It's not super bad whatsoever, but it's a little bit orange. I actually picked these up on behalf of my mum because she saw an infomercial where they showed something really similar and she was like, oh my god, I want them, I think they'd be so good. And I was like, pretty sure there's a K-beauty equivalent of that and I'm pretty sure it's not going to work as well as you think it was. And I was kind of right. At least there is a much cheaper K-beauty equivalent. These ones are, I think they're $6 each. I don't know if that's 100% accurate because when I bought them they were less than $5 each, which is why I was like, I'll just get 2. So maybe that's just a different sale. I did get these off YesStyle, so the prices definitely vary a lot on YesStyle. I love shopping with YesStyle, but you have to really know the prices and the worth of things because sometimes the price is really high for no reason whatsoever. So the product description for this one says, Revolutionary Brow Pen comes with 4 soft and pliable brush-like tips for even and consistent application. Each tip helps coat hairs evenly and allows for precise application at the corners, on top and on the inner brows. Smudge-proof and sebum-proof formula lasts for hours. So the packaging of these products is pretty general. It's just a really fat marker basically that has a 4-pronged applicator on the top, much like you would see on a liquid eyeliner, but 4 really short ones. They're not as pliable as a liquid eyeliner would be, which is a good thing because you don't want to have like curly hairs. You want straight hairs, which you want a firmer application or firmer prong on them. Which makes sense. I have 2 shades out of the collection. There wasn't really much point in me getting the blonde one or the red one because I don't have blonde, well, not that I want to have blonde eyebrows. Anyway, I don't have blonde or red hair. I'm going to dye it pink again though because I haven't got any purple right now and I'm getting bored of the colour. So pink it is, round 2, electric boogaloo. The colours are not that different when you look at them side by side, but when I put them on my brows, the dark brown looks a lot more orange. The grey brown doesn't look super grey either, but honestly when it's settled in, it looks totally fine. Alright, so my brows are ready to go. I think I'm just going to do one colour on each side so you can see the difference. However, I will warn you that you can't really see that much difference because I do have like a fair amount of brow hair. And I feel like that's probably a downside to using a product like this. I do have a bald spot here and I need to really fill in the fronts of my brows. They're a little bit uneven. But the regular, like the tail of my brow is like there's quite a lot of hair, so therefore you can't see such a huge difference. So I'm going to be using the grey brown on the side. This is number 4. My tip for using these is that you can't just use them like a pen and draw straight up like that, which would be the easiest way to do it. But instead if you lie it flat like this and kind of push and pull, like flick it up like that, but using the flat side, so you can see that you can definitely create tiny little brow hairs. But it is really quite difficult to do it. Like you've noticed that I'm not talking while I'm doing it because I don't want to get it in the wrong place. So you can get pretty nice brow-like hairs. This is grey brown and you can see that in the front of my brow here it still looks quite like a brown, like it does look very different, but there's a little bit of unevenness down here. I'm almost like pressing it like a stamp rather than drawing it like a pen. So that is the main difference between if I was to use this brow product here in comparison to this brow. So I definitely think that it works well in that aspect. However, if I was to draw the rest of my brow in, because I've got so many brow hairs already, I'm not actually getting the effect of coating it, like making the brow hairs, because I'm really just filling in the skin underneath. And I feel like it's kind of like a wasted product to do this part of my brow because you don't really get the effect of the brow hairs, or it's just kind of, the effect is a little bit wasted. So that's what it looks like if I was to fill everything in. I actually like my brow to be like a little bit more, like a little bit darker on this side anyway, like on the tail. So what I've been doing is filling the front in with the pen and then filling the rest of my brow in with powder. And I feel like it gives the best sort of compromise between the two. However, if you keep going back in and doing more brow hairs, it kind of just blurs together and you end up with not so much effect of the tiny little brow strokes. So I think it would be more effective if you actually had less brow hair. That is how it works, and this is the grey brown on this side. So what I'm going to do is do the other side with the other brown and you guys can see the difference. So the other one is number 2 and it's called dark brown. I'm not as good at doing this side, so I'll probably just fast forward you guys through it, just make sure it's in focus. This is what both brows look like. There is a little difference in the colour. You can definitely see a lot more of a warm toned orangey brown on number 2, which is dark brown, and then this one you can definitely see that it is a lot more cool toned, although it's still not super grey. I don't know why, it's just because there is more of the colour here and less of my own eyebrows, which are like pretty much black. I think you can see the colour difference a bit better there. So this one I find it a little bit hard to work with this brow because it has got the scar and the like hair growth is really uneven, so I really struggled to get like a very crisp line. So this one I did struggle to get a nice looking brow, so it's not my favorite, especially like in the tail section. I just find it really difficult to use, but I do think that it makes this part of my brow look so beautiful. I just think that for me personally, it's something that I use strictly for the front part of the head of my brow and not for the tail, because it doesn't work that well for me that way. But there you go. So overall, I think that these are really interesting products. The grey brown is definitely the one that I use the most. I pretty much never use the dark brown, so I really only have that for the colour. But I feel like these are so good but so bad at the same time. They're so good because they do absolutely give you the look of having little brow strokes. So like if you were getting microbladed eyebrows, except a bit fat, because the actual prongs on these are not super tiny, because otherwise I think they would be very difficult to use if they were tiny. So you do get the individual brow hair look. However, if you're like me and you have a fair amount of brow hair already, you're really going to struggle with this because you can't see the brow strokes. It doesn't really give you more of a natural look because you already have brow hairs there. So when I'm doing the tail end of my brow, what I'm basically doing is just colouring the skin in underneath so that they look more full. And this doesn't help to do that. In fact, I feel like I'm just wasting ink by doing that. However, the head of my brow, the front part, that has a lot less hair than the rest of the brow does. Why? I don't know. My brows probably just hate me. So I find that this is a really great way of filling in the front part of my brow so that it does look a lot more natural, because I don't want the front part of my brow to just be filled in skin underneath because there's not enough hair to cover it up. So this I absolutely definitely do use in conjunction with another product. So I'll be using, like today I used the Anastasia Beverly Hills product, the brow pomade on the outer half, like the tail end of my brow, and then I use this at the front. And it looks great. I love it. I think that it looks good. However, I did try it on my mum's brow hairs. She has a very few brow hairs from over plucking in her youth, and it didn't work that well because it just looked way too fake. I think because the prongs itself are quite fat or thick, if you should like better, they don't provide the most realistic brow hairs. So yes, while it does make it look like little strokes, little brow hairs, it doesn't look so good if you have, you know, not enough brow hairs to make it look real. So it's a really hard one for me to recommend because you have to have not a huge amount of brow hairs, but also none. It works well for my brows in particular because the front part is just lacking a couple of brow hairs, but I can't use it all the way through. So it's a 50-50 for me. I think if you have medium brows, so you don't have a huge amount of hair, but you also don't have no hair, or you're not like having bald spots in your brows basically. So I found it really difficult to do. I've got one big giant scar in my brow, so it doesn't grow any hair. I found that this didn't look very good on it because it's got an uneven texture and it didn't make the hairs look very good, and it didn't stick very well either. So yeah, this might be the most useless review I've done in all time because I can't fully recommend it for anybody, really. It's a really case-by-case sort of thing. So I hope this helped you guys out at least a little bit. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!